Stop copying modal code in every React project. In this video, I will show you how to make reusable and type-safe dialogues effortlessly. This is a feedback form that takes email and feedback values in it. It is built based on one form data useState hook and is modal open variable that determines whenever the confirmation modal should be opened. But before sending the feedback to the server, the user has to confirm his action in this modal that pops up after submitting. In this only scenario, it's working well, but the problem comes in when we want to use the same modal, or in this example dialog component, somewhere else. With this example, we would need to copy and paste the same code over and over. But there is an easier and more efficient way to do this. Simply install the easy-dialogs package into your React or next.js project, and then we will quickly go through initialization of this package in the project so we can use our reusable and type-safe dialog. Firstly, create the dialog wrapper client component in which we will import the dialog component from the easy-dialogs package. Then place the dialog wrapper on top of the other children in the layout of our website. Next, cut our dialog code and create the folder where we will put our reusable dialogs in. Create a confirmation dialog component and paste the dialog we cut earlier. Now we need to fix our imports and variables that are missing in the dialog and replace the default as open property with true. The most important part of creating the reusable and type-safe dialogs is that we need to specify what this dialog is returning and what additional props we can put in when calling it. Then change the default on open change event to an onClose function with a false variable, because in our case we are returning a boolean, so if the user closes the dialog earlier, then we will return false. However, on the confirmation button, we need to return true because the user is confirming his action. As I said earlier, we can also put the additional props property into our dialog, so in this example, we can set the title of the dialog. As the last step of setup, we need to create a list of our dialogs. In the list, we will specify the dialog ID and exact component that we are going to use. Then in our feedback form, we need to import the useDialogManager hook and as a variable, place the dialog list that we've just created. This hook gives us the callDialog function, which is used in showing the dialogs with our specified parameters. When calling this function, we get type-safe list of IDs of our dialogs, and in the second parameter, available additional props that we can pass to the dialog while calling it. The result of a weighted function is the same type that we specified when calling onClose function in our dialog. As we can see, the form displays the confirmation dialog normally, and as a result, we get an easy, reusable, and type-safe dialog manager to use in the project. In the next example, we've got the user list with a button that will open the dialog with a form to create a user. However, this functionality requires many use states that are being used only for dialog components, so we are going to move it to the separate reusable dialog as we did in the first example. First, create a user create dialog in the dialogs folder and create the type of the props that we are going to use later. Specify the user type in the onClose function, and we can also add the title and additional props as we've done earlier. Then copy the entire dialog component from our users list component and fix the imports in the dialog. On the onOpenChange event, call the onClose function with a null value so it indicates that the user has not been created and the dialog has been closed early. Then create the handleSubmit function and copy all the use states and functionality of creating the user object from the users list component. Modify it to work with variables that we have defined in the dialog. Add the onClose function with the user object inside it to close the dialog and return the user object in the callDialog function later and add the title from the additional props variable. Next, add the user create dialog component to the list of our dialogs and import the useDialogManager hook inside the users list component to use the callDialog function. Now add the logic to create the user return from the callDialog function to the users list component. As we can see again, the dialogs are working, and again, we have created our reusable and type-safe dialog so we can use it later in the project. Back in the feedback form, we can even try to add the callDialog function of userCreateDialog to show how it will behave in a scenario with more than one modal in the form. As we can see, it's working just fine. If you like this video, consider subscribing and leaving a like. This will help me to gain feedback about this type of content. See ya!